I made almost 90 movies, some good, some bad. But one of my favorites is Lonely Are the Brave. Now that was a book called Brave Cowboys by Edwin Albee. But the studio insisted on changing it to Lonely Are the Brave. I didn't like that title. I wanted to call it The Last Cowboy. But I like Lonely Are the Brave very much. The only objection I have to it, that most of the audience sympathize more to my horse, Whiskey, than they did to me. But that's show business.
I saw the film at a drive-in for the first time. And when I first saw the movie, you know, I was a kid, and it didn't have really any significant action. It had a very interesting kind of pursuit at the end, where they dog him up the mountain, and it had a really good fight. I remember the fight as a kid, but the rest of the film kind of just sort of faded into, you know, the wanton, hungry memory of a young kid just wanting epic drama and big color CinemaScope productions. And it wasn't until later that I rediscovered Lonely Are the Brave, and in rediscovering it, found it to be one of my favorite films.
A man named David Miller, may he rest in peace, was the director. And he was a competent, fine gentleman.
David did, I think, a very good job. But when you say a director did a good job, he has to have a good script and good actors. Then he can do a good job.
It was a big lesson about what a great screenplay can mean.
Lonely Are the Brave was written by my friend Dalton Trumbo. Not long before that, he wrote the script for me, Spartacus, in which we broke the blacklist because he was a blacklisted writer. He spent a year in jail and he had to use a false name. I hired him with the false name of Sam Jackson. I felt like such a hypocrite. I couldn't stand it, so I insisted on putting his real name on the script, and that broke the blacklist.
Dalton Trumbo wrote a magnificent screenplay that was a great comment about society at the time. I remember so clearly the opening of The Cowboy, and you think you're watching an old-time Western with dawn breaking and a cowboy getting ready to saddle up his horse, and all of a sudden you hear, he looks up at the sky and you see this jet going overhead. And it was such a great metaphor for setting up this whole structure of the end of the West as we know it, and a man and his horse trying to cross the West, having to cut through barbed wire fences, struggling to get across a highway as the horse is spooked by cars and trucks going along, on his way to see a buddy who's in trouble. I think it's my favorite picture that Dad has done, and I think it's his favorite too. One thing that always struck me is how kind of against character he played at the time. Dad was sort of known for that, that intensity and that energy. And in Lonely Are the Brave, he had a relaxation and an ease and a grace that was unique.
You sure you got the right fellow? We haven't even been introduced.
In the film Patton, I think a German officer calls Patton a magnificent anachronism. And that's exactly how I found Kirk Douglas's performance in Lonely Are the Brave. He was really an anachronism. Magnificent in his self-control, in his love of the time he was living in. And there was just something about the way Kirk moseyed throughout this mechanized, polluted world of the 20th century that really made me think that this was a film that was waiting for him to star in.
Do you know the penalty in this state for jailbreaking?
Never broke one in this state.
5 years.
Take him an awful long time to catch us, amigo.